Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to race 3 of 30 here at Texas Motor Speedway for round 3 of the 2023 NSCA Cup Series season. Last time out, it was at Auto Club, and it was a narrow finish between Mikey Willard and someone else. I forget who it was now, because it's been a couple days since I recorded it contextually behind the scenes. But for now, we are at the Lone Star State at the reconfigured Texas Motor Speedway, more specifically, which thankfully races a lot better in NR 2003 than it does in real life. Anyways, on the pole, it is Sean English alongside defending winner Mikey Willard. Ryan Vaughn, Ricky Foxen round out the second row. Then it's Keene, Keschel, Kiro, Granger, Richards, and Crown Jr., the top 10. And it was a wild time battle at Auto Club last time and whatnot. And based on how the race went last season here, towards the end of the season, it should be not as crazy, but still pretty good. As we'll go ahead and get set to go racing here. A lot of drivers up here up at front need good finishes. They have not had great finishes thus far. English, definitely. Foxen, to an extent. Keene, well, he missed out Daytona, so he definitely needs a good start, or good finish here today. Green flag is out. We're underway at Texas. English leads him down. Willard did not get a good start at all. Vaughn's already clear of him before they even get to turn 1. Now Foxen side by side with the 24 as they go through turns 1 and 2 for third. English will easily lead the first lap, but here comes Foxen out for second on the 2 of Vaughn. Keene up to fourth. Side by side for fifth now is Ilana Kiro and Willard. Three wide now as they come across the stripe. Field still relatively close together. Foxen still side by side with Vaughn as they round turns 1 and 2 now for the second of 134 times today. None of the part-time teams have shown up, so it's only 37 cars in the field, as you might have already seen. Willard still dropping back. He's already well behind several of the cars. I think he's already outside the top 10, in fact, yeah. Just about. Foxen not able to clear Vaughn. He holds on to second for now. Keene now up into fourth. Kiro in fifth. Richards in sixth. Hunter Kiro and Alana Casual side by side for seventh. And then you have the 82 of Kenningberg in ninth. Once again, Foxen goes on attack. Here comes Richards on Alana Kiro as well to try and crack the top 5. And now Willard started second, now running in 12th as he's kind of just ever so slightly behind Lamas. Now able to draw at least ahead ever so slightly as they run through 3 and 4. Why is my game stuttering so much? Holy crap. And Foxen clear of Vaughn as they round turns 1 and 2. But here comes Vaughn back on the outside. And draws ahead, actually. But still side by side now as they run through 3 and 4. Vaughn, no help behind him. Foxen with all the help behind her. Now Foxen clear of Vaughn. 33 Keen clear of Vaughn. Seems like once you get off of turn 4 on that outside lane, you just drop like a stone. It's probably part of the reason why Willard is now edging closer and closer to the back half of the top 20. Maybe even outside the top 20. Why other drivers like Crago back here are, and Blade Runner as well, are back here. Of course, towards the back we have drivers like Hancock, Dobbs, Reinhardt, Henson Jr., and Theodore Cox. Not great runs for them here in the early going, but then again, we also aren't even 10 laps into this event, so. Side by side are the Kiro twins now for the 5th position by the looks. Oh, caution is out. What happened? Oh, big wreck further back in the pack. Several cars involved. Looks like the Kita, it looks like Merzlik one of them as well. As the field does race back. And will be English, Foxen, Keen, Keshiel, and Hunter Kiro, the top 5. So we will go ahead and take a look at see what happened here. So it looks like 3 wide coming off of turn 4. And it's just a chain reaction. Looks like Amy Walsh just gets into Jensen Nomina ever so slightly. That causes Nomina to get into the 04 of Steffi Plaxco. Meanwhile, Walsh then goes down into Takeda, so both Axiom Racing Union cars involved in this one. Plaxco goes head on into the outside wall. It doesn't look like too big of a hit. And then Walsh just then comes back across the track into the outside wall. And that collects Evans Ross, who then comes across Merzlak. Crago gets involved, as is the 90 and 60. And then just basically everybody at the tail end of the field here, with except I think Theodore Cox, who I think was able to keep off of everybody, all got involved. As it's hard to tell if these guys are. I have a feeling those guys are only entering pit road now because of the fact that they were caught up trying to get around everybody here. So some drivers will go a lap down here. It's unclear if the NSCA officials will allow them to get their laps back. That is to be determined. So not a great day for here, as we now have. Looks like McGranger and Bishop did not pit under the caution, so they will be ahead. Already a tenth of the way in. through this race. And we are hearing word that these drivers will not get their laps back. Montoya out with a tire issue already. Did not see when that occurred. I completely missed that. Because the game did not let me hit the button to get the thing deaccelerated. Anyways, back underway. Unfortunately, we missed the restart because the game decided it wasn't going to let me see the restart. 3 wide further in the back. I think Evans Ross currently is now back on the lead lap, but at the tail end, as are Stojanovic and Nikita. But here comes Foxen, who I believe is trying to go for the lead. Looks like it. And Keschel and Kiro there as well. I think Maddox is in 4th as well as Armstrong in 5th. It's hard to tell though because, you know, I'm not using the traditional ticker and whatnot. I'm using the nice spiffy GNL TV ticker. In any case, battle for the lead. Foxen and Keschel, I believe. Yep. And Keschel just barely led that lap as well. And Alana Kiro is in 3rd. Maddox is in 4th. I know I'm kind of cheating and whatnot, but the ticker does take forever to scroll along despite any adjustments I tried making. And unfortunately, it does not update every lap like it does not update immediately like I would have hoped. But is the limitations of technology of 2003. Anyways, Merzlak back out on track, multiple laps down now. Stojanovic and Evans Ross at the tail end of the lead lap here. Is the field now running still relatively close to each other, with some stragglers towards the back. Now Keschel trying to get around Stojanovic to put him back a lap down here. So we come to complete lap 21. Now side by side. Wait, no, that's not for the lead. Never mind. Keschel starting to pull away just a little bit as Alana Kiro tries to get around the 90, as is the 84. Keen's still running up here as well. Foxen's only dropped back down to 6th, by the looks of things. I believe both Nomina and Plaxco are a lap down, and they are running 25th and 26th respectively. And looks like timing and scoring is only showing Merz like 1 lap down, which is interesting. As Stojanovic continues to fall back. Evans Ross now back down a lap down. As Keschel gets around her. Kiro's closed the gap a little bit with a push from Arnstruff as well. Toyota, Pontiac, Toyota, Mercedes, and then Chevrolet, Mercedes, top 6. Say Chevrolet, Mercedes because they're kind of battling for 5th here. Don't count on Hunter Kiro. He's also back there in 7th. I believe Robert Dobbs is a lap down. Never mind. And then you have Sean English behind a whole host of lapped cars in 8th. Meanwhile, battle for 2nd. Armstrong trying to make it a Toyota 1-2 here. As of right now, the only championship contender who's from last year, who's having a decent run right now, is the 6 of English, and technically, I guess, the 48 Llamas as well in 9th. Craig and Merzlag were caught up in that earlier wreck. They're not having an issue. In fact, Merzlag about to go a second lap down here, running second to last, and would be running last had Montoya not retired due to that tire issue. Now Evans Ross continues to lose more track position here. Ooh. Foxen gets a little tight in the middle of that corner. Well, looks things may have bottomed out and bobbled up as well. In any case, Hunter Kiro gets by her to break into the top 6. Excuse me, top 5 actually. As looks like Ilana Kiro has fallen outside the top 5 earlier, and we missed that. Now side by side for third, it is Maddox and Keene. And make that side by side for fourth, and side by side for fifth. Does not look like that outside lane down the front straightaway is the best line to be in, especially if you're by yourself and have a training cars to your inside. Merzlik's done a decent job at staying ahead of Casual, actually. The only thing keeping the door now in sixth is the fact that Ilana Kiro's also kind of trapped behind lap traffic as well, and it looks like Foxen's going to try and get around Kiro for fifth here. Try being the operative word. It's much harder to get around somebody down that front straightaway when you're running by yourself as opposed to with the training cars. But Fedor Keene closed up on them quickly here. Of course, they're running side by side, so they will run a little bit slower than by themselves. Depending on who Keene goes with here, depends on who really gets the spot. And it looks like Keene's going to go with Foxen, who clears Kiro off of turn 4. And Keene now edges Kiro for fifth as well. And Keene's going to take the opportunity of slipstream to try and get around Foxen through turns 1 and 2. But it's not going to be able to do it. Foxen gets the better drive off the outside. Meanwhile, Lamas has gotten ahead of English for 8th. Actually, make that 7th as Ilana Kiro has fallen back. So English still net 8th position. Meanwhile, I think 5, no, that 5 is a lap down. Never mind. Travis Heflin's quietly made his way into the top 10, by the way. Just noticed. Make that 9th as Ilana Kiro just gets continuously free trained by a mixture of lapped and lead lap traffic. Meanwhile, both Onstriff and Maddox closed in onto the leader. In fact, as I say that, Armstrong looks to the inside down the back straightaway. Can he get to Cashiel? The answer is yes. Of course, Armstrong does have a career win at a mile-and-a-half tracks like this. That being New Jersey back in 2021. Driving this number 84 car that he's driving right now. Just obviously a different chassis because this is, of course, the next-gen car. That's beside the point. Maddox right behind him as well. Maddox, of course, a very much a not very reputable driver, I would say, in terms of pace. But he's actually now running in second on merit alone. So props to him. And he, of course, he does have a win as well. That coming at Armory Digital Super Speedway in, I want to say it was 2018? No, 2019. And in fact, he's also going to lead this lap as Arnstruff may have gotten loose in turns three and four. That's allowed Lana Cascio to get back around for second as well. Meanwhile, Foxen has gotten back up into fourth and gotten around the lap traffic, but has some ground to clear. And side by side, well, of course, I say that Lamas clears Kiro, but Lamas is now up into fifth, and here comes English as well. Of course, English really needs a good run. Very bad luck in both the Daytona 500 and Auto Club, despite a great start to Auto Club by leading some laps. In fact, English led the second most laps to that race with 10. The person who led the most, right behind him, Fedor Keen with 15. As we see Lamas get freight trained on the outside. Now, despite running in 36th right now and one lap down, just about 2 laps down, Steven Merzlik's done a commendable job of making sure that he's been running around the same pace as the leaders to stay ahead of him. So the caution order to come out here relatively soon. He's actually sitting in a pretty decent position to get kind of back into this race, potentially. But of course, with the field, of course, running more spread out, the likelihood of a caution isn't as great as it was earlier in this race when the field was still bunched up, as we see Blade Runner lose a whole bunch of spots here. But never, of course, never say never when it comes to cautions. After all, we saw what happened at Auto Club last week. 7 cautions in that race, all of them wrecks. Now here comes Maddox to put Merzlik a second lap down. Merzlik does not look like he was able to keep the pace as much as he would have hoped. Of course, Maddox, when he got that career win at Armory Digital, I should say, Merzlik was his team owner. And Maddox now officially puts Merzlik second lap down. Fox in fourth, Fedor Keen fifth, Akira sixth, Lamas and English. And then looks like a 13 and an 83? Yeah. I'm sure if we're going to try and get back around Keschel here. Can't quite get to the 23 though. Maddox has a decent lead now. They're actually catching the 60 of Cole Dillon, who has had a horrendous start to the season himself, much like his team owner. But unlike Sean English, Cole Dillon running in 35th right now. Next driver is Amy Walsh, and she's just over half a lap ahead of Dillon, as now Dillon falls back to 36th position quite convincingly. Arnstroff now tries again to get to the inside of Keschel for second. Will do so this time around. Now the question is, does Keschel able to hang on to that outside, or does she get freight trained? And she gets freight trained. But with Cole Dillon falling back, she's going to be able to get back in line behind Merzlach. Not lose too much time, especially to drivers like Fox and Nomina, 33 of Keen, etc. Because they've actually looks like they've been catching the leaders a little bit. See Kenningberg get around the 04 here. Kenningberg running in 15th right now, so good run for him, at least better than the last couple of times we've run. Daytona wasn't all that great at the finish, and neither was Auto Club. Another driver doing well is Max O'Quinn, also running in 12th, actually doing a lot better than what a lot of people were thinking was going to happen. As Pathfinder Racing has always run as, at most, a two-car team. So them opening a third car was a questionable decision from a lot of people, at least in terms of, what they were thinking. But it's worked out so far by the looks of things. In fact, Max O'Quinn is actually the highest scored car for Pathfinder Racing in points right now. So the team as a whole seems to be firing on all cylinders, considering they finished 8, 9, 10 last time out of the Auto Club. And at some point, Arnstroff got freight trained by Merzlach and Keschel. So Arnstroff now runs in third once again, Keschel once again in second. Maddox continues to lead. So we're already on lap 54 of 134. Hunter Kiro and Fedor Keen have also gotten around Jensen Nomina, who is once again a lap down, and seem to be closing in on Foxen here. Driver that seems to be doing well as Roberto Crown Jr. Also hasn't had the best start to the season, but is running in 13th right now, ahead of Lamas actually, because Lamas looks like he's fallen back quite a bit. People were unsure how Lionheart Racing was going to do this year, considering they, lost one of their owners and whatnot, and kind of downsized once again to a two-car team. And it's been a mixed bag for them so far from what I've seen this season. So, maybe some luck will come their way if they can get things turned around starting here at Texas. One thing I have noticed is with the racing so far, granted now both races have effectively been pack races, there's been no clear championship favorite that's emerged so far this season. I mean, yeah, you have Mikey Willard who's driving, a Hendrick Motorsports car, but he is running a lap down. Or no, never mind. He's not running a lap down. He's running 11th. My apologies. Anyways, he's running 11th right now. And yeah, he's leading the points going into this race, but he was also a championship favorite last year after earning back-to-back career wins, or back-to-back wins at Bristol and I forget where else, but won back-to-back races early in the season, but dropped off heavily during the summer portion of the year, and was only really able to finish at the tail end of the top 10. So even if a championship favorite might come out early, they might not be a championship favorite by the midway point of the season. It's really only about at the midway point of the season that you really see those who will actually be fighting for the championship really come up to the front and rise as the cream of the crop. Sonomina has gotten back around Keene and Kiro. English has also started to reel in the 92. Calvin Richards doing a good job in 9th for Wolfpack Racing. Ooh, Travis Heflin apparently no longer content with running behind the lapped car of Henson Jr. Just about wrecked the 5 going into turn 3 to get around him. It's opened the door for Richards to also try and get past going into turns 1 and 2 here. Swiller now tries to get 10th away from William Sparks. Not able to do it this time by. Of course, Crago is a lap down. Just gotta remember that. Kenningberg's made up a couple of spots here. I'll say, Queen City Racing has had a very, very strong turnaround during the off season. For context, they have had a combined 24 DNQs between Alex Miller and Chase Marks, who were their drivers last year. Well, now they have Dylan Maddox, who of course was not brought into Parsley Enterprises when they took over Factory Dodge Autosport, who outside of his lone career win at Original in 2019, has effectively been a towards the tail end of the midfield, upper back marker area journeyman driver, as well as, if I cycle back to him, the older veteran of Harold McGranger, who made his debut in the Cup Series in 1999, went full-time in 2000, couldn't make all the races in 2000, of course, had financial issues with the team he was driving for at the time, was able to, drive full-time and make every race in 01, 02, and 03, and 04. Then in 2005, he moved over to the Hendrick Motorsports, where he drove for them until the end of the 2010 season, where he then moved to another team in 2011, where he raced there as he's coming down pit road. Well, then again, he is also one of 2 drivers that did not pit under that caution, and that the other one being R.J. Bishop. Anyways, as I was saying, we can get back in the 57 here. As I was saying, for Granger though, He actually had an injury late into the 2014 season that kind of, or no, late into the 20, or early into the 2015 season. I mean, sorry, that unfortunately cost him the opportunity to race for a majority of that year, and he only made a couple starts in 2016 before having to step down to the National Series. Up until this year, where he's once again in the Cup Series for Queen City Racing. And as we all know how that turned out, he won the Daytona 500. His 5th career win as well. So, yeah, he's, now running, I think, like a lap or two down. He's running, in fact, he's scored as 35th across the line. But that doesn't mean much of anything, especially considering the fact that he has fresh tires and he's going to try to make the most of them. And, well, combine the fact that they have arguably better quality drivers, and with the next gen car, Maddox and McGranger both actually been doing phenomenal this year. As we see Maddox under fire from the 84th Arnstruff, who is right on his back bumper, really the closest anybody's been to Maddox, really since he took the lead. Way back on lap like 40 something. He's been leading for quite a good chunk of the race, easily the most laps led thus far. RJ Bishop running in 34th as right now as well. He's also on fresh tires. He also made a pit stop, as we saw in the background of McGranger when we were talking about him earlier. Looks like Amy Walsh is the next driver to go a lap down, and the 84th Arnstruff is now the leader of the race. But here comes Maddox again to the inside of Merzlak, not for second place, just to keep Merzlak a second lap down. Field is really stabilized, at least in terms of distances everybody is, as we see it's the 6 of English, who's a spot to 83 Richards, who's actually climbed up. Interesting. And this fresh tire is working really well for Bishop and McGranger right now. As we do see cars coming down pit road now for pit stops. So how well did that advantage of fresh tires compared to old tires really pan out? McGranger's actually gotten back around Bishop here. I don't think that's necessarily for position, though. As the leaders and Merzlak are all coming down, as does the 33 and the 92. I think Sean English just took the lead. Yes, Sean English does have the lead. Henson Jr. is a lap down. Mikey Willard in second. Henson Jr. is going to try and pass English here, which is interesting because I think both of them are going to try and come down pit road. No, but Willard's coming down pit road. English is going to go out for another lap. Maybe the team's strategizing. Oh, well, fresher tires equals higher speeds. Where does Cycle out Granger and Bishop to? As they are running in 24th and 25th right now. Ignore what the ticker says at the top because, you know, pit cycle and whatnot. Where does everybody come out? So we see Reinhardt doing the cha-cha slide into her pit box. Still scoring English as the leader. And English is in his pit box right now. In fact, much of the field is still scored a lap down, so I don't think English is the leader anymore based on how many cars have passed him that he was racing around. Of course, with them having fresher tires than English, the first couple laps they were on track, English would have lost that time. However, he might gain it back here with with a few laps fresher rubber than everybody else. And then have to see where everybody cycles out to. Yeah, English is 15th here. And it's Heflin in the lead. Armstrong is in second. Richards third. Then a 22, the 59, and the 12. The top six. Cashill's fallen back to 7th. Kiro's in 8th. Ricky Fox in 9th. And Willard in 10th. So we got a few newcomers to the front here. Merzak still in 35th, but the 80th Nomna in 22nd. So they're really non-factors here. Well, it's going to be interesting to see if Nomna tries to get out of the way of Heflin here because they are teammates. Both racing for Crago Autosport. Also, it is interesting to me to see that Merzak got out ahead of the leader through the pit cycle and might be back to being only one lap down. As well as Nomina also getting out ahead of the leaders. And then Heflin also having as big of a lead as he has over second place Armstrong and his teammate Richards. And Richards actually might go for the second place here. And he hesitated, but now he's going to kind of get pushed by Maddox here, who's now under fire from Sparks. So this is inadvertently only going to help Heflin. It's going to be interesting to see these guys can catch Heflin instead of, trying to fight amongst each other. And yeah, Merzak back down to being only one lap down. Cole Dillon still 2 laps down. But interestingly, he might go a third lap down here within the next few laps, as we are now on lap 87 of 134 well past the halfway mark. As that would have been lap 67. So 20 laps ago would have been the halfway mark. Ooh, close there between teammates. Ian Wallace running that beautiful retro Pennzoil scheme. Of course, that is not necessarily a Reinhardt Incorporated throwback. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated in real life. That is a throwback to, I believe, the old Nissan Skyline cars that ran in the Japanese Super GT series. Of course, I could be wrong about that. If any of you have any actual factual information about what it's actually a throwback to, please leave it down in the description. Well, Keshel's now fallen outside the top 10. It's not good for her. And here comes Heflin to, I believe, put Nomina a lap down. Nomina briefly tries to fight it, but does let Heflin go in the end. You know, Sejanovic might have been caught by Cole Dillon here, but it's not for position, unfortunately. Of course, both of them were caught up in that wreck on lap, what was it, 8, 9, somewhere around there? And yeah, I can confirm that was Nomina going a lap down a couple laps ago. So interesting to see that Sejanovic seems to be running slower than Cole Dillon at the moment. Ranger and Bishop have also kind of stabilized at the midway point in the field at 20th and 21st. But they also did pit a lot earlier than everybody else. Like a good solid 5, 6, 7, 8 laps somewhere on there. So they will have to come in a lot sooner than everybody else. And they also have a little bit older rubber than everybody else. But at this point, it's probably equalized enough to where they aren't necessarily going to lose time, but they definitely aren't going to gain any either. Of course, some other big losers on the pit stop cycle was Theodore Keen went from running like 5th or 6th to 14th. You have Henson Jr. Well, Henson Jr. was already lapped down. Sean English went from inside the top 10 to out. Of course, you have Alana Keschel battling for the lead to now battling just outside the top 10. As we now have a gaggle of cars here, all battling for a top 5 position. Meanwhile, Travis Heflin has caught Steven Merzak to maybe put him a second lap down again. The fight for second position is getting heated up here. Maddox has second across the line, but here comes Ian Wallace with a push from Mikey Willard. Of course, Ian Wallace, former V8 Supercars champion for Team Penske, moved over to IndyCar and then now Stock Cars. Doing pretty well. If I recall correctly, he got a win last year. I might be wrong about that. I'd have to double check that. Mike Willard, of course, as I said, got 2 wins last year early on in the season. And then, of course, just one last week at Auto Club. Hunter Kiro, of course, the 2014 Cup Series champion. Hasn't had luck in being a championship contender since, aside from, I think, like 2020 and 2021, which the last couple of years he's been really in the fight for the championship. But he's going to try and, of course, like everybody else, make a run for it this year. And he's doing a pretty good job now, running in 4th. You have, of course, Calvin Richards. Drove for McLaren, then drove for Red Bull Racing, and then drove for RTD Motorsports, and then now he's driven for Wolfpack the last couple of years, and he's done pretty well with it so far. William Sparks in his 3rd season at Team Penske. Still hoping to break through and try and finally get his first career Cup Series win for the team. Ricky Foxon, of course, drove for Craig Autosport up until the end of last year. Moved over to Bledsoe Brothers Racing this year, trying to hope to have some success for BBR. Of course, Cody Lamas, the defending Cup Series champion and a 4-time champion at that. Driving for his 22nd Cup Series season this year. And you have Armstrong, of course, also drove for Craig Autosport, now driving for Wolfpack since 2021. Doing pretty good there. Dylan Maddox, we already discussed earlier. Lana Keschel's had an interesting career. Initially drove for an independent group of people. Then was brought in the Lionheart Legacy Racing when they initially expanded out and merged together. But then her team was spun off and sold to McLaren, but it was just the onus points really. And she was brought into the fold for Red Bull, and where she's driven ever since. And that was in 2019 when that happened, really. No, 2019 is when she drove for Lionheart Legacy. It was 20. Or was it? I forget. I had to double check everything afterwards. Not that you people would know that I would do that unless I were to like pause the race and go look it real quick, but I'm not going to do that because we are in the middle of the race. Merzlik has caught the 90. And that is for position. And they've already put the 60 a 3rd lap down. The 13 car did at least. Willard now running 2nd. Hunter Kiro in 3rd. 83 and 8 in 4th and 5th. Merzlik has an issue. He's down on the apron now. This has got to be an unscheduled stop. And it looks like it is a tire issue. At least according to what the game is reporting. So day has gone just from bad to worse for the 4 team. As As he's now down and away. And a second, maybe almost a, well, not, well, it's not going to be anywhere close to a third lap down, but quite obviously not the day the two-time champion wanted to have, especially considering the bad luck he's had the last couple of races already. Ooh, 3 wide there. Richards backs it off. And he's going to lose a couple of spots here. He's going to actually fall all the way back to 10th because of that. Probably saw what happened 100 laps ago and was like, nope, not going to be the cause of that again. And wisely backs out of it. Of course, the racing, it's been there. It's more than one can say about real life, but hasn't been there today, unfortunately, of course, when I'm recording. At least it's better than what it is in real life, I guess. As Heflin finally puts the 90 a second lap down. Meanwhile, Kiro has caught the 80 of Nomina, who does not move out of the way, like he may or may not have done for Heflin. And in 90, Stojanovic still trying to fight to get back down to just 1 lap down. It's not going to quite work. Can Kiro run down Heflin? Heflin, of course, only had 1, maybe 2 wins last season. I think it was only 1. So not a good year for Heflin last year, at least because he's used to getting multiple wins a season. So if he's able to get a win here at Texas, that's going to be pretty good for him. Willard convincingly in 3rd. 8 of Foxen in 4th. Then you have Dylan Maddox in 5th. Meanwhile, 6th. And then Sparks, Keschel, and the 83 of Richards. And the English in 10th. Oh shit, Ernst is falling back to 13th. Holy shit. Good run by the 29 of Max O'Quinn in 12th. Lamas is in 11th, of course. And while her teammates are currently 2nd and 12th, Amy Walsh in 33rd. Not a great day for her, but then again, she was also caught up in that. Actually, she was caught up in the start of the wreck and then backed it into the outside wall on that lap, like 8 or 9 wreck. And Kiro is catching the 13 of Heflin. Dylan has been passed by the 92. Willard's gotten around the 80 of Nomina. Only thing standing between Kiro and Heflin is Stojanovic and about a second. Maybe half a second. Maybe a third of a second. Kiro now side by side with the 94. That track position and basically a clean shot to get to the 13. As Willard also tries to get around Dylan just behind. And Willard's clear of Dylan. Kiro clear of Stojanovic. Here comes Willard now to try and get a clear shot at Kiro and Heflin as he goes around Stojanovic. Foxen falls back to 6th. Move both Maddox and Wallace up one spot. Willard now clear of Stojanovic. Here comes side by side for a lap down cars. And that is for position too, I think. Anyways. Chevy, Dodge, Ford. The classic big three American manufacturers left to battle it out for the win here at Texas. We are now on lap 120. 134, 15 to go. And for the lead, here comes Kiro now to the inside of Heflin. And Kiro is clear of the 13. Here comes Willard now to try to get to Heflin. Heflin just edging ahead ever so slightly as they head down into turn 3. Willard is still there though. That's all that's allowing to happen is Kiro to get away. Still side by side as they go through 1 and 2. Willard clear as they exit the corner. 12 laps to go now. We're on lap 123 of 134. This field now approaches Amy Walsh. Is she going to get out of the way for Kiro and run interference? Or is the classic NRAI of get stuck behind a lap car and not get around them immediately going to occur? Because it really depends on where Kiro catches Walsh here. Kiro looks like he's just content running behind his teammate for now. Does have a look to the inside though going into turn 1. Does that allow Heflin and Willard to catch up? Well, Kiro's not clear of the 44, so yeah, that might just ever so slightly allow them to catch up. And if Walsh continues to battle side by side, of course I'll say that Kiro clears Walsh. So now Willard's going to have to fight the 44 here, as will the 13 of Heflin. Although it looks like Heflin might be dropping back ever so slightly. Less than 10 to go, of course, here at Texas. Holy shit, I've been recording for over an hour. You know, further back, Maddox getting clear of Dillon. Here comes Ian Wallace potentially. Wallace. As actually, Dillon's fighting back on the outside. Interestingly enough. Ooh, Heflin tried to get to the 44, but the 44 was able to power on the outside despite having less car than the 13. Quite literally. Look at that back end of the car. 6 laps to go at the line. Can Heflin and or Willard get back around Kiro? Heflin definitely has a lot more ground. I mean, to gain. I was about ready to combine the words gain and ground together. Meanwhile, Willard has gained the ground. Closing in ever so slowly. 5 laps to go now. Willard to the back bumper of Kiro. Can Willard make it 2 wins in a row once again early on in a season? Can Heflin catch back up? It is 4 laps to go now. Three to go. Kiro, Willard, Heflin further back. Pretty much out of the picture at this point. A lap and a half to go. Granger hits pit road. White flag in the air. Kiro, Willard, who will win this race? Lap traffic may or may not play a factor into this. We'll have to see. Off of turn 4 for the final time.